Hello, everybody. Once again, this is Fred Wanko coming to you from our studios in Chicago with another edition of Bold Talk on Island TV. And as usual, I like to say good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to you, depending on where you are around the world. Whew. That's taking a deep breath. After yesterday's controversial episode, as you knew, there was a lot of backlash, pro and con, because when you mention P2B, it's a sensitive topic. And some people misunderstood me who were supportive of what I said, but they were supportive of me from a standpoint of applauding my criticism of P2B. I did not criticize P2B. I don't have reason to criticize P2B. P2B remains the best hope that progressive Nigerians, based on last election, we don't know who may appear in the next election, but based on the last election, P2B remains the best hope among people who could lead the progressives to regaining the mandate that was stolen. I just think that P2B made a mistake in some of the words he used to congratulate General Gowon, which seemed like he was kissing up. And I was just saying, maybe in the future he needs to be advised better. Maybe he really needs to get handlers instead of being a freelance that just wakes up, thinks about something, and does what he thought. He's no longer that kind of person. He has to pick his words carefully. So I appreciate the people who watched, and I appreciate them being dedicated to my videos. I appreciate it. But I wasn't criticizing P2B. I was just giving an opinion based on the kind of work I do, because I knew that I'll be criticized if I didn't make a statement on it, because people will say, oh, if Tinubu did that, you'll come out talking. This is a balanced show. That said, we're done with it. Then I got a message from an auntie of mine who lives in Europe, lives in Nigeria and Europe. And she was very upset. First of all, she was happy about the show. She liked the things I said and how I picked my words. But she said, Fred, no bad language, no bad language. And I apologize to anybody who heard me drop those two four-letter bombs. It wasn't intended. It was in the middle of just being emotional about Nigeria. And I apologize. I'll try to watch my words in the future. Auntie, please keep sharing my videos. I'm sorry. I'll be a good boy. The other thing that I got from a viewer or some viewers was that I was alerted that the 3 million casualties that were suffered during the Biafra-Nigeria war on the eastern side of the war was not all Igbos. That's a fact. And I apologize to anybody who felt I was making it an Igbo thing, but I think you can understand my sentiment. Among those casualties, contrary to popular belief, were people from the Efik region, the Ibibios, some Ijaws, some Calabaris. There were casualties on those sides too, and they were casualties because they either fought on the Biafra side or they were caught in the crossfire. My apologies to anybody who feels offended about that. But like I always do when I do one of those controversial episodes, in this episode, I decided to go a little change of pace. I'm not the one who is going to be talking, but the talk here represents what I believe about this administration. There is a lady, her name is Isabel Oakeshott. She's the editor of Talk International TV in London. And she described Tinubu's Nigeria as corruption on steroids. That soundbite really tickled me. And I thought I'll share her 6-minute interview with you. And that's it for today. I'm resting from all the feedback I got from the last episode. But I think you'll enjoy this more than you would have a full-blown episode of me. Kick back, relax, and enjoy it. It's just a laid-back edition, but serious stuff about how the world sees Nigeria.
Hi, Iz.
Hi, thanks for that introduction. You're so right about the interconnectedness. I personally spend a huge amount of time, frankly, ranting about illegal immigration and, the mass movement of people and the loss of control of our borders. It's increasingly obvious that Nigeria is on the brink of becoming, well, first of all, it's on the brink of economic meltdown. There is social meltdown. We can go into a long list of the problems that it's facing. That has real potential repercussions for us here in the UK. First of all, we should care about Nigeria because of our historic links to the country. It's a Commonwealth country. There are very, very large numbers of Nigerians now living in the UK, nearly 300,000, so big diaspora. And what is happening there today, the utter mess that country is in, has big implications, because I think we're likely to see an increasing number of Nigerians making their way as genuine refugees, not as economic opportunists, real refugees, to the UK, where they know that there are, they've got shared language, they will be welcomed. And of course, that has implications for our own ability to absorb yet more people.
Yeah, I mean, what I think is worth pointing out as well, that when you look at Africa and when you look at the economic powerhouses, Nigeria is one of them. It dominates the economies of West Africa. It is a huge oil producing nation as well. And like you said about our diaspora, when you look at the leadership contest in the Conservative Party taking place right now, there's a very good chance that actually the next leader of the Conservative Party will be a Nigerian by birth. And this is a very important country. I've worked in Nigeria myself. I love Nigeria, actually. It has its problems for sure. And actually, those of us old enough to remember the Biafran War will know that when things go very wrong in Nigeria, they can go extremely wrong indeed. Nigeria, like most other African countries, has oftentimes been blighted by inter-ethnic wars and people who want to seek separatism and so on and so forth. But the situation had calmed down. There'd always been an agreement in Nigeria that leadership was shared between a southerner with a deputy from the north, and then that reversed. And that is the way that Nigeria has managed to keep a hold on its functionality for a long time. But that model over the course of the last sort of decade or so has rather been eroded. But tell us what's going on today over there, Isabel.
Well, what's going on is it's only fairly recently that Nigeria had presidential elections. So the incumbent, Bola Tinubu, has only been in position since 2023. And unfortunately, having come to office on a platform of, usual story, yes, I'm going to absolutely root out corruption, I'm going to improve the economy, I'm going to make everyday life easier for Nigerians, has presided over making things quite demonstrably worse. It's been an absolute disaster with rocketing inflation. I mean, we think we've had a nightmare with inflation in our country. Currently, inflation in Nigeria is running at about 32.5%. Food inflation even higher, right up 38%. That has actually left a lot of Nigerians quite literally starving. When did you last hear about famine in Nigeria? Well, it's a real thing. Then there's a whole mess over Nigeria's fuel subsidy. You talked earlier about Nigeria being very rich in resources, and here's the irony. It has all this oil and gas, and unfortunately still doesn't seem to be able to provide it at an affordable rate for its own citizens. And the president removed the fuel subsidy but didn't put any safety net in. And the fuel subsidy is extremely controversial, and there are many arguments for and against having it. But what you don't do is rip it away and then leave people without anything to turn to. So now you've got people who are unable to afford to heat and light their homes. And among all of this, as a backdrop, you've got rampant corruption. I mean, if you ask people in this country, what do you associate Nigeria with? Unfortunately, the answer you're likely to get is still going to be corruption. Well, that has just gone on steroids under this current administration. And also the persecution of journalists. And that is very, very sinister. That's ramped up under this administration. So poor Nigerian citizens, they thought they've got a new regime, that things will get better, and in fact here they are, with a president who seems entrenched. And the question is there any possibility of getting rid of him? He's supposedly at the moment on a working vacation in London. That is sitting very badly with voters in Nigeria who feel, well, hang on a minute, your country's in flames and you've poodled off to the UK. We're not quite sure what you mean by a working vacation, but now, my friend, is no time to be on a holiday. So I think the sands are shifting. It's unclear when or if or how he might be displaced, kicked out, made to step down in some way. But there's an awful lot of people hoping for change.
Blimey, it's dreadful to hear that is a situation that Nigeria is in. Isabel, thank you ever so much. It's brilliant covering stories from all over the world. It's something I think we need to do more often.
There you have it. Now let me make one thing clear. Tinubu is not responsible for all the chaos going on in Nigeria and all the chaos that Nigerian immigration is bringing to different parts of the world. Those things were there before he got there. The reality, though, is that since he got there, just like the man before him, Buhari, Tinubu hasn't endeared himself to the people. Corruption has gotten worse than it ever was in Nigeria. And why wouldn't it get worse? The reality is that Tinubu surrounds himself with some of the most corrupt Nigerians that you have ever witnessed. Yorubas, Igbos, Edos, just name the corrupt people across Nigeria. They are Tinubu's best friends. But we need to do something about it. My new mantra is, Nigeria is worth fighting for from wherever you are in the world, even if Nigeria is now worth dying for. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, this is Fred Nwankwo coming to you from our studios in Chicago with another edition of Bold Talk on Island TV. And until next time, good night and God bless.
Anajari shugamu no tulali. na Chicago ababa nekele akipa kwa kalio akario kwa kipa fana badia chano
Ekanano Koya
Injina Bruno da Ochimkwela nuguru la no chacha kunyo na koyao Nda baba Nda baba Oh nda baba Ayama
Kai kelekwa Ohanese nina na Chicago Oya no mena no chola no winter jacket masoro Ende no na Chicago Oyiri wananza jolas Oga de branu ba Na mushire no me na rishire no happy